boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the new Eddie Murphy family Christmas film currently on Prime Video entitled Candy Cane Lane. And in this film, we have Eddie Murphy reteaming with Reginald Hudlin, who directed this film. He also directed Eddie Murphy in Boomerang, and they come back together for this film, which follows Chris, played by Eddie Murphy, a man who is determined to win the neighborhood annual Christmas decorating contest. He makes a pact with an elf to help him win, and the elf casts a spell that brings the 12 days of Christmas to life, which brings unexpected chaos to the town. As I said in my previous review of Napoleon, I'm trying to catch up with some of these reviews that I've been slacking on in the past month or so. So I've been on a tear the last couple of days trying to get these reviews out. This film came out on December the 1st. So once again, I'm a little late to the party, yet it's better late than never. Let me just say, I'm a huge Eddie Murphy fan. I grew up with Eddie Murphy, with his stand-up, Delirious, Raw, when he was on SNL, his films going into 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop and so on and so forth, and all of these classics from him, Coming to America, The Nutty Professor. I grew up with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy could do no wrong, comedy-wise. And, in the past few years, it has been kind of sporadic because he hasn't put out films as often as he did in the 80s and even in the early 90s. But he's kind of taking a step back because he's getting a little older. I mean, he ain't old, but he's older. And he's not doing as much. Now, a few years ago, he came out with a film, Dolomite Is My Name, where he played Dolomite, and he was awesome in that. And me and a lot of people felt that this was the comeback. This was Eddie Murphy back on the trail, because Dolomite Is My Name, which was on Netflix, was awesome. I enjoyed that film. And so, been waiting for that next big Eddie Murphy film. Candy Cane Lane isn't it. This isn't that Eddie Murphy comeback film that I was hoping for. I wasn't expecting much from this movie, to be completely fair. I knew it was, I'm not in that demographic. This is a family Christmas movie. So, and I have a family and I celebrate Christmas, so I should fall in that demographic, but this wasn't for me. This was a kiddie movie, a film where I think a lot of kids probably will enjoy it, but adults not so much. Starring alongside Eddie Murphy in this film, we have Tracy Ellis Ross, Julian Bell, David Alan Grier, Nick Offerman, Chris Redd. They had a decent cast in this film, but it just, well, let's break down the cast, starting with the star Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy here. Now, I wasn't expecting to see Axel Foley. I wasn't expecting to see Prince Akeem. I wasn't expecting to see what was his character name in 48 Hours? Oh man, it was just on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, I wasn't expecting to see those characters. This was a family man. This was a subdued suburban father, just to put it plainly. Eddie Murphy did nothing in this movie of note. To be honest with you, throughout the film, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, anybody could have played this part. This didn't have to be an Eddie Murphy movie. This could have been any Joe Blow. And that's no disrespect to Eddie Murphy by no stretch of the imagination. It's just, I'm not going to say beneath him, but it was just average. It was like, whatever. Anybody could have played this part. He didn't bring anything to the role. I guess that's the way to say it. Your typical Eddie Murphy isms. And of course, there's no profanity. This movie is PG, but uh, Eddie Murphy can be funny without profanity. He can crack some good jokes. He didn't. He wasn't funny. Tracy Ellis Ross, I think she did a decent job for what she was given. Uh, wasn't the best written character. She was just the wife, and all right, but the star of this film, I believe, was Julian Bell, I'm sorry, as Pepper, the villain of this film. She was awesome. I enjoyed her. Her energy, her being able to bounce off of everybody in this film. I mean, she outstaged Eddie Murphy in the scenes that they were in. She outstaged David Allen Greer in the scenes that they were in, and whoever. She just outperformed everybody. Honestly, she was awesome. She carried this movie. She was the shining light in this film. Honest to God, if it wasn't for her, this movie would. I don't know, man. This would be a F movie if it wasn't for Julia Bell. Honest to God. The direction here by Reginald Hudlin, who I am a big fan of. House Party, his first film, him and his brother directed and wrote that film. Still a classic in my eyes. Boomerang was awesome. The Great White Hype was pretty good. This did not get there. I don't know. The direction was all over the place. It was just uneven. This movie was really uneven. And they tried to balance this out to be like It's a Wonderful Life mixed with Drag Me to Hell. And it just didn't have those. It just didn't come together right. The premise was there. It was there. It was an interesting premise. It just didn't come together. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work. Trying to add certain elements to, I guess you could say, pander to certain demographics didn't work either. Throwing in DC Young Fly for quote unquote comedic relief in this film didn't work for me. Of course, I'm not a big DC Young Fly fan. He's funny in certain things like skits and all that. Like when he's on Wild 'N Out, he's funny in that. But putting him in a movie or whatever, it doesn't work because he's DC Young Fly. It's nothing different about him, and he just did not work in this film. It was like he was just thrown in here, didn't help the story along. He wasn't really funny to me. It was just an attempt to try to bring over a certain audience, and that's what I got out of it. It didn't. And there was a lot of that in here. They did certain things to kind of please to the hip crowd, I guess you could say, as the young folks would say. They made that statement a few times in this film, and it's like, oh my God, you're trying way too hard. It just, the script was bad. It was just a bad script. Like I said, I think they were given an idea, and it was kind of interesting, which the idea is interesting, but unfortunately they picked the wrong writer for this film. Kelly Younger wrote this film, and I don't know much of their work, but whether this was their first screenplay or whatever, I couldn't find anything on them, but this was not a good screenplay. The film started off kind of slow, and then once we really started to get into the meat of the story, it got a little interesting for about 15 minutes, and then it just drug forever. This movie is 2 hours and 5 minutes long. This movie had no business being 2 hours and 5 minutes long. This was this was a task. It was really a task to sit down and watch this movie. I mean, it's too long. A movie like this should have been 90 minutes, an hour and 30 minutes, and that's it. In and out. You could have cut 30 minutes out of this movie easy. Actually, you could have cut 45 out of this movie easy, and you would have had a better film. It was just drug on and all over the place. and the message got lost when it comes to the meaning of Christmas and what's Christmas all about. It got lost in this film. It was brought up 2 or 3 times, but it was never resolved. You know, it did when it was quote unquote resolved. It was just a throwaway line, and that was that. And there's nothing. It's nothing about this film that I would say will go down as a Christmas classic or something that you will watch with the family at Christmas. I mean, it's something to have on Christmas Day while everybody is around the Christmas tree opening their gifts in the background. But aside from that, it's not a good film. And I give Candy Cane Lane, currently on Prime Video, a letter grade of a D+. It's kind of disappointing. And it's very disappointing because I had no expectations. And how can you have no expectations and be disappointed? Watch Candy Cane Lane. You you will get it. But hey, man, look, I'm still a fan of Eddie Murphy. The next Eddie Murphy film to come out, I'm still gonna watch it. And allegedly, it's supposed to be Beverly Hills Cop 4. I don't know what's taking so long. They've shot it and it's in the can. I don't know what the holdup is with it. Maybe they saw Candy Cane Lane and say, we're gonna get some distance between these movies, and that is the smart play. But yeah, I'm still a fan of Eddie Murphy. You know, I watched this after I watched Coming to America, and that was, oh my God. And if I had to compare the two, both were released on Prime, coincidentally. If I had to compare the two and gun in my head and I had to watch one or the other, I probably, my God, why did I put myself in this corner? I probably would watch Candy Cane. Yeah, I'll probably watch Candy Cane Lane. Yeah, I'll watch Candy Cane Lane because Coming to America was such a betrayal of that franchise, of the original film, that I have a deep-rooted hatred for that movie that goes beyond belief. But this one, didn't have much expectations. There was no, live up to the originals or nothing. This was an original concept, and they just fumbled the ball on the originality of it. But it is what it is. I'd like to know, did you check out Candy Cane Lane that's on Prime Video right now? I would like to know, did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you think it was all right? Or am I tripping? Contact me by email, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You can also look up the KB Radio Network on all social media platforms. That's another good way to get in contact with the show. Also, don't forget the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube. Subscribe and like this video if you don't mind. Also, everybody, the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Candy Cane Lane, starring Eddie Murphy and Tracy Ellis Ross, currently on Prime Video. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.